I got one more, a bonus, and I thought we could. This will probably be meaty. I thought we could talk about the stimulus package itself. So, breaking news, as I think maybe right before we jumped on the podcast today, they did end up passing and signed in. Trump signed in the stimulus package, so the CARE Act, and people are probably wondering when they'll get their check or how they'll get their check. And so CNN did a pretty decent job reporting on how long it would take and how those checks would be issued. And this actually harkens back to an article we talked about on the last in-person podcast, roundtable we did, where the IRS is basically acting as a social welfare payment um, arm of the government, and that's the way that these individual stimulus checks will be given out, is through the IRS. And so many people are wondering how long this is going to take. And yes, the bill has been signed, but CNN goes on to detail that it's probably going to take at least 4 weeks, and that's if you filed a recent tax return within, for fiscal year or your calendar year 2018 or 2019, and that the amount that you'll get is based on your tax filing. So the cap at which it starts reducing is at 75,000 per person, or I believe you get phased out then at 100,000 because it reduces the amount of the stimulus check, which is supposed to be $1,500 per person, gets phased out $100 for every $1,000 that you make, anyway, it phases out at $100,000. And so this is a quote straight from Mnuchin, who is with the White House. Our expectation is within 3 weeks we'll have direct deposits out there. And CNN is kind of countering that and saying 2 weeks from now is April 6th, and they think that's very, very unrealistic. This is from the Tax Policy Center, and it's saying it's more realistic to expect those checks in a month or two. And so I kind of wanted to get your guys' take on, how long that's going to take, maybe how the IRS is acting now as a social kind of welfare distribution, really now delivering the stimulus checks. And then also maybe if we want to talk about the phase out amount, where they're basing this on the tax filing of the last 2 years. But if you've lost your job in the last month or so, how then they're making it very difficult for people to jump through hoops then to get that stimulus package. So I just kind of wanted to get you guys' take on the stimulus package and kind of how long it's going to take people.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing that comes to mind on this is that, okay, so we just got an extension to July 15th to file our tax returns. Oh, never mind, because you got to hurry up and file your tax return now if you want to actually get this check. So all of you who thought tax season was postponed, forget it. Game back on. We're back in it again. Get those tax returns done ASAP.
Well, especially if you're one of those small tax preparers, and there's a lot of them out there that still do personal taxes. If you thought that your work year was, 4 months or say 5 months of the year, and then, after April 15th, you take a small vacation, you come back and do your extensions, and then you're done. This really extends it out to, who knows how long it's going to go. It could go most of the year, especially with the forgivenesses that they're talking about, and allowing, payments being stretched into 2021 and 2022. It could really put a burden on our tax preparer friends that are out there doing personal taxes.
Wait, so something you just said, there's an irony here in that if you actually owe tax, your incentive is to just not do the work for a while. If you actually are already paid into the system, your incentive is to actually bite the bullet and do what you have to do to file your tax return right away, right? And so, yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if maybe that's just the weird way I think, but it seems like that's an odd set of incentives that kind of misaligns the way the world should work. But,
yeah, it does seem to be going counterintuitive to what you would think that they would want you to do. And yeah, just to go back to your point, AJ, on does it seem like this will take a long time? These always take a long time. These types of events have happened, and it feels like this is even going to be worse because of, all of the delays that they're experiencing and all the people who can't come to work. And so, yeah, it just seems like it's safe to bet that it will be a long way down the road before anyone sees money in their checking account. Yeah.
Well, probably, if the Treasury is smart about how they implement this, the way they can for sure make it work right away is for those who owe tax, make it be an offset on whatever tax they would owe, right? Because they already deferred having to pay that till July 15th. And so, that's a check that you're planning. I have some business clients that are what we call flow through entities. So they pay taxes on their personal tax returns, and they know they'll owe tax. And that's part of the cash flow projections we're doing is we were looking at, the business will have to pay the owners cash so the owners can pay their taxes because of the flow through mechanics of being taxed at the owner level. And so the fact that the tax is now deferred until July 15th helps everyone, helps the business because the business can conserve that cash for now. And I would say about this point is hopefully the Treasury will be smart about this and they'd say, okay, if you're entitled to some of these checks, you can use them to offset any tax you owe. That might be the quickest way somebody gets the benefit of this, is simply paying less tax that they otherwise would owe right now.
Yeah, and the other thing you mentioned, and I thought I'd bring it up, is the IRS is understaffed and has been understaffed for quite a while. Also, too, the IRS is not known traditionally to be very technically savvy. They were still doing very many things on paper as recently as 2015-ish, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think it's putting, not only is it putting a great burden on those individual tax preparers and then having to go back to the drawing board for those financial planners, but also, too, the sheer number of checks that are going to have to go out and the manpower and technology behind what the IRS is going to have to leverage to be able to get this done. I don't know. It's quite an undertaking. Yes, the bill signed, but the time that it gets, that money gets deposited into your checking account, maybe, like the CNN article said, at best 4 weeks, at worst it could be 90 days, 3 months, so it's still very much up in the air.
Yeah, the only I guess I wouldn't call it a plus side, but the only saving grace here is that it seems like these problems are going to persist for a while. So it seems like everyone will still be very much in need of that money in 3 months or, so trying to put a spin on it.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, it's like yeah, people will still want that money for sure a few months from now. They won't get to a point where they're like, never mind, just keep it.
I also thought that the phase out amount was quite frankly low. I mean, realistically, $75,000 a year may sound like a lot to a lot of people, but anymore, maybe back in the 90s, you were balling if you were making $75,000 a year. But now, I mean, especially in the Portland area, man, you need that much just to make your house payment, really. So I thought, I don't know, maybe I'd get your guys' take on the threshold amount. 5,000.
Yeah, it definitely seems kind of low. And that's one of those hard things when you try to apply a uniform threshold to a very diverse group, which in this case would be all the different states with different costs of living. Yeah, it just seems like it'd be a hard thing to put to get the exact right number.
I don't know where they came up with this number, but interestingly, it matches. And I don't have the citation for this, but there is a well-known study about human happiness in the United States, and that happens to be the threshold area that what the study had said, and this was a few years ago, I think, but it said something about how if you're when they studied income related to human happiness, that once your income got to about 75,000, you had kind of reached the peak of happiness. And when they researched, when they had researched how happy people were who made more money than that, they concluded that making more money didn't have a correlation to additional happiness. And it was this idea that it was testing this question of, does money make you happy or not? And the answer that this study was trying to put forward was, it does on the lower end of the curve until you get to about 75,000. And then after that, it doesn't necessarily make you more happy just to have more money. So anyway, that study pops to my mind because I think that's close to what that threshold was in that study is what they happen to be using here. I don't know if there is any connection there or not, but interestingly enough, yeah.
Do you remember the name of the guys that ran that study? Because I'd like to find them and tell them, give me $1 million and I'll tell you happy or not, afterwards.
I don't remember the name, but maybe we can Google income and happiness or something.
Income, happiness, diminishing returns. That would be probably what I would call that. But yeah, I mean, I can say that, just speaking from experience, some of the happiest times in my life were where I was not making as much money as, I had at other times. And so I think you look at things different when you're at a lower income level and you learn to be happy with what you have, sort of a thing. And so, yeah, it does seem like there's a pretty big disconnect between that correlation of income and happiness.
I found it. I don't know. I found the article. It's a article from Money published in November 2017. Let me see if I can do the screen share thing that we've all been doing here today. Let's see here. Here's how much money you need to be happy according to new analysis. This was November 20th, 2017. This is a CNBC website. The idea that money can't buy happiness has been disproved, at least up to a point. Experts say that happiness does increase with wealth, but the correlation peaks at earning 75 a year. Hey, how about that? My memory, it peaks at earning 75,000 a year. The lower a person's annual income falls below that benchmark, unhappier, blah, blah, blah. Time report in 2010, some study from Princeton University. So anyway, I think there's been a lot of articles on this. It was a well-worn discussion topic. And yeah, I guess my only point with this, I'm not endorsing, I believe this is necessarily true. I actually think, this might be true. This makes sense to me. I'm not saying I know the issue well enough to know that that's true or that these studies are well-founded or not. I just thought it was interesting that this was a common discussion point a few years ago as that point at where happiness and it's the threshold being used for for this payment, interestingly enough.
Well, I wonder if the correlation isn't related to how you to then how, I guess the point when I think back, I think I was happier when I was making less when I was making far less money than I am now. But I'm wondering if that isn't hand in hand with age, right? Because with age comes responsibility, I think, and with Oh, you got trouble unsharing?
Yeah, I don't know how to unshare.
Go to the bottom of the screen and hit stop sharing, or at the top there should be a button that says stop sharing. Yeah, meeting controls, stop sharing.
Top, yeah.
This damn thing, talking about webcasting disasters. Here we go.
While we're waiting for him to get that pulled up, I would just like to share Daniel Tosh's thoughts on this topic, which is, have you ever seen a sad person on a jet ski? No. Anybody
Exactly.
has never ridden a jet ski because it's a lot of fun.
And no, I don't. These controls are not available to me. I don't. Oh, let me just hit the escape. All right, so yeah, we got back from my share screen dilemma, and here we are. Whoa, what happened here?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm in the garden, and Charlie's on another planet, and AJ, you're part of a
street art.
You're part of an abstract painting. It looks like.
Very Portland.
So we were talking about problems people are having with webcasting and with video conferencing, and we didn't expect this problem, but apparently we're also experiencing some technical difficulty here. So we're gonna sign out from here. Remind everyone to subscribe to the YouTube, hit that notifications button, hit the like buttons, and download and share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. And we will see you guys all next time. Thank you. Thank you for doing this with us. Take care now.
Smash like now. The floating invisible hand demands it.
Thanks for watching.